Sir, I'm certain that you will agree with me that this budget is a disappointment to most. The Minister of Finance, sir, is not getting better. As a matter of fact, sir, as the years go by, one would have expected that from 2015 to now, gaining experiences in presenting budgets after budget, the minister would have become better at the job. Sadly, sir, a minister with a technical background is becoming more and more political in his presentation, and that is why the quality of the budgets are really deteriorating. And so this particular budget, it would appear that the minister cannot really make up his mind whether he wants to pursue the Green State Development Strategy, a vision that is outlined by no less than His Excellency, or whether the minister is on a different path to fuel our economy by extraction offshore. There are some talks, sir, in the budget about the GSDS, the Green State Development Strategy. But in the measure, sir, the minister is looking for oil, for solutions, and to provide a boost to our economy. It is this fact, sir, that creates conflicts, inherent conflicts in the budget itself. Because there is the philosophy of moving towards renewable and moving towards a green state development strategy. But there is the contradictions about measures that are supposed to be in keeping with this vision. But the measures that are outlined in our budgets are far away from going green or being renewable. Sir, in order for a country to pursue a green path of development, there are a number of development options that must be looked at. And going green, sir, doesn't mean painting buildings green, as some seem to think, or putting on green attire. It is much more than that, sir. It got to do about environmental issues. And in the world, sir, there is the Environmental Performance Index, which is a gauge of how good or how bad a country is doing in terms of achieving this noble aspiration, this noble goal of renewable source of energy as we go along. Sir, environmental health is a vital component of this path of development. Ecosystem vitality. And, sir, given the minister's state of mind that is reflected in this budget, I would recommend that he seek out an audience with Dr. Byro Clinic, because the minister seems confused, sir, in articulating his position in the budget. And it is not easy, sir, to switch from a green path of development to extraction of billions of barrels of fuel. It is easy to switch a short from green to yellow. I know the Honorable Prime Minister is not here. He has perfected that art of switching easily. But with a budget, sir, it is a quite different matter and quite difficult. It's not easy to do those switches. You have to decide, sir, what is it that you want? Yeah. Whether in the short term we want to use the extractive industries to fuel our development and put on the back burner this issue of renewable energies and going green, or whether we want to put that on the back burner. But the minister, sir, seems to want to have his cake and to eat it. I don't know who he thinks he's fooling. Whether he's playing up to Norway to get more funds for our low-carbon development strategy, which is an excellent strategy, or whether he's caught between a rock and a hard place with ExxonMobil and our need for support, budgetary support, and otherwise. So after his long presentation, I'm convinced that the minister was not trying to get members of the National Assembly to buy into his budget as a priority. I think in the first instance, the minister was trying to convince himself that this budget really makes sense. And that is why he went on and on. Sir, in his presentation, in page 2, and let me quote, sir, what the minister have to say. At 1.6, page 2, the minister, and I quote, "We are poised for rapid economic expansion, and our government is committed to pursuing economic and social policies conducive to equitable, sustainable, and environmentally friendly growth." Well said, sir. But where in this document are we addressing issues of economically friendly growth, when the budget presentation is replete with mentions of oil, petroleum industries, extraction, and fossil fuel, and all of that? So, sir, I think the minister, like I said, should make up his mind. Further, sir, same page 2, the minister continues, "We will ensure that the appreciable economic growth that is expected is felt at all levels, especially among disadvantaged, vulnerable, and underprivileged groups and communities." Again, sir, there is nothing wrong with that. But where are the measures in this budget to address the communities and groups identified in this particular sentence or part of a sentence? Missing, sir. Totally missing. So whilst it sounds good, there is nothing tangible in the budget itself to really speak to aspiring or to attaining the aspiration of what this is all about. Sir, the minister spoke about the contraction of the sugar industry, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Minister of Finance. And on page 8, he predicted, well, he stated clearly that the sugar industry will experience a severe contraction of 25.2%. 25.2%. But what are the reasons? And what are we doing to address the reasons of this contraction? And I wish to posit, sir, that the reasons for this contraction after the presentation of the 2016 budget, when the minister spoke glowingly about the performance of Gaisuco, he didn't mention at that time that the performance of Gaisuco at that time was actually based on the investments made in 2012, 2013, and 2014. So from a position of speaking glowingly about the performance of sugar, of Gaisuco in 2016, the minister is talking now about severe contraction. And we need to examine the reasons, sir. And I will say clearly that the blame for the contraction and the dismal performance of Gaisuco and the sugar industry lies squarely at the feet of the government, sir.
Yes, yes.
Squarely. And we now have, sir, a situation where one minister doesn't know what the other minister is doing about sugar. The minister, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, sir, was quoted in the press of saying he doesn't know anything about loan that was given to the agriculture sector. So it appears that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and the confusion that is ensuing is causing this dismal performance of sugar itself. We have the special purpose unit, sir, now fighting with Gaisuco. I notice in the press now there's a lot of quarrel over a glorified rum shop there, sir, at the LBI. That is called a bar, sports bar or something like that. It was in the newspapers. Apparently the SPU has different priorities than Gaisuco. So the training center now is converted to a glorified rum shop, and they're having pool parties and barbecues. And when Gaisuko personnel tried to intervene, I think the Honorable Minister of Agriculture would have liked those things to discontinue, because I'm certain his priority is sugar. But unlike the special purpose unit, sir, they're talking now about giving access for people to go and sport at poolside and having drinks at this glorified rum shop, training center, now turned sports bar. So these confusions, sir, lend to employees and workers in the sugar industry itself having a very poor view, dim vision of the management of Gaisuko and by this government. And so the dismissal of 7,000 workers is not helping the cause, especially, sir, yesterday, right here in front of the National Assembly, after this parliament would have approved millions towards the severance pay of those sugar workers, we noticed scores of workers, some of them, most of them, I think, from the Wales estate, coming to protest for their incentives, for their severance, sir, for their severance. That is a legal entitlement. And there against our confusion in the government camp. One minister saying Gaisuko got the money, another minister say, well, I'm not sure whether the money is there. And then another section of the operation saying, well, we don't know who to pay, how to pay, and all of that. Confusion, sir. And then ultimately, the hatchet falls on the workers, the sugar workers, sir, when management should absorb the blame for the dismal performance. And so they were promised good things. The manifesto of the AP and UAFC speaks volumes about promises to the sugar industry. 20% increase. And even when that was not possible, sir, they were promised land and training and all of that when they would have been terminated. The government has gone silent on these promises, sir. And yesterday, I remember clearly when my colleague here, the Honorable Juan Ejel, sir, was talking about, I think, a radio ad. The Prime Minister, sir, said it worked. He was very happy in pronouncing that it worked in 2015. I don't think it will work again, sir, in 2020, because they cannot go back to the people and say, we will get 20% increase to the workers. And they cannot go to the rice farmers, sir, and talk about $6,000 a bag for paddy. And they cannot go to the public servants again and talk about it's time to end this and it's time to do this and all of that. Sir, all those things are totally forgotten. The manifesto that was supposed to be the contract between this AP and UAFC government and the people of this country seems to be cast in the dustbin or gathering dust on shelves somewhere. So, sir, we just cannot throw away the lives of people like that. But as Comrade Damon said, the honorable member, sir, we don't care. It is a we don't care government. And one cannot expect better if you don't care. Sir, I must admit that the honorable minister continues to speak well about the rice industry, glowing in praise. And indeed, sir, the rice industry has a solid foundation. It took us almost 2 decades to lay that foundation in place. And it is rock solid. That is why it is sustaining so far the mismanagement of this government, largely because the producers are more in the private sector as against under government control. Aspects of the industry, sir, that falls under government control seems to be in confusion also, like in the rice industry. Sir, markets were promised, and whilst we increased export, value came down. So our farmers are being punished for producing more. In 2014, 501,000 tons exported, value 249.5 million, sir. That's, sir, US dollars. Sir, that came down in 2017 539,000 tons exported, 201 million US dollars. Right? 201 million US dollars. So 48 million US dollar less, whilst we exported 38,000 tons more.
Wow.
Where are the markets? That was promised. And the prices subsequently came down, sir. That is $125 US, sir, less when this government promised more. Sir, Panama market. There was a fiasco earlier in this year, which points to, sir, the management of that aspect of the industry by the government. Even that little contract, sir, they mismanaged to such an extent that that market, our best market, right now is in jeopardy. Sir, the Guyana Rice Development Board, a government agency, is the contracted party to Panama. The Rice Board purchase from millers. They certify the quality. They do the inspection. They fumigate the containers. They issue the certificate for those containers before they could travel, before customs could give the approval. And sir, more than 30 containers of not a less quality rice, but a totally different type of rice arrived in Panama.
Wow.
And the Panamanians had to send it back.
How did that happen?
Had to send it back. And this happened a few months ago, sir. So why should I be ashamed? The Rice Producers Association, which by law, sir, which by law should have representatives on the board, and in 2015, I mentioned it again, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, sir, I must give him credit, spoke to me about naming representatives. Well, that is 2015, sir. In 2018, December 6th, I'm still awaiting acknowledgement from the Ministry of Agriculture that the Rice Producers Association that is legally entitled to have representatives on the board of GRDB to have those representatives in place. It is no wonder, sir, that what is happening there today. Mr. Speaker, at the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, the act that establishes this agency also provides for 2 representatives from the RP. So the RP was established in 1946, 14th of September, long before the PPP and definitely long before the PNC. As a matter of fact, sir, it was the British Guyana Rice Producers Association. Right? So there's no politics there. It's got to do with the promotion, the protection, and advancement of the rice industry. And if you remove the association, sir, you will face the consequences of that removal. And sir, today, the farmers of Essequibo, by a drop in yield only, lost over $1 billion this last season. Neither the Minister of Finance nor the Minister of Agriculture addressed that matter. Only, sir, in a reduction in yield, that happened. Sir, the cost of production is going up. Compliments of the government. $15,000 per acre DNI charges on land rent, up from $3,500.
Wow.
We must talk about it. $5,000 at Hope Estate, gone up now to $15,000. These are farmers who are facing lower prices and now being asked to produce more in an environment when they are getting less and when the government itself is contributing to the increase in cost of production. Sir, the farmers are paying. This year, sir, for the 2 crops, first crop, second crop, we traditionally name them spring crop, autumn crop. In the purchase of fuel alone, the farming section of the industry, sir, would have contributed close to $3 billion in taxes. Only by the purchase of fuel would have contributed to our revenues just over $3 billion in taxes. That is not the value of the fuel, sir. That is only the value of the taxes that they are paying. And they need, sir, to be given support so that they can produce and compete, because we are operating in a global environment, in a global village that is becoming increasingly smaller. This government, sir, seems to don't have an appreciation for that. Whilst the whole world is giving support to agriculture, this government is actually penalizing agriculture by way of these increasing taxes. Sorry, the rice board now is being moved to LBI. And I don't think the management of rice board want to be close to that glorified rum shop or the poolside. They are being forced to go to LBI. They'll have to do renovations and all of that, might cost $100 million. But what will happen to the Cowan Street property? I don't know if any of these ministers, or I'll ask Minister Ramjatan, honorable member, to do some investigation, whether somebody is already lined up to take care of that property. We have to look at that. Sir, the loss that Region 2 farmers would have experienced, 357,000 bags of paddy. That's, sir, equivalent to $1 billion. Equivalent to $1 billion at the low price of 3,000, just because of a factor that could have been avoided. Insect pest and disease control, sir. A specialized unit was established, I think, in 2013 to deal with paddy bug infestation, and given the necessary resources. In 2015, sir, that specialized unit was disbanded, and we were told that their work now will be incorporated in the overall research and extension program. Sir, a specialized unit was established in recognition of the devastating effect, economic impact this particular pest can have on rice. In one season, one region, sir, a small region, just 35,000 acres, they lost $1 billion because of reduction in yield due to that particular pest and another fungal infestation called blast. And sir, the honorable member Rajkumar spoke about it, but I don't know whether he was restricted or constrained in his presentation to let known the impact. He spoke just on the periphery, tap as you would say, about the impact. But he knows the impact, sir, that is affecting Essequibo farmers right now. Machines are being seized. Houses now are under threat of being taken back because they are unable, sir, to meet commitments to bank institutions. And the minister is aware, sir. I must say that the minister had a talk with the farmers when he went to commission the pumps at Three Friends. That commissioning, sir, cost $3 million. They had about 8 farmers in the audience. On the other side, we had about 50 farmers protesting to draw the minister's attention to what is happening there. And sir, about 50 persons were taken from Georgetown to make up the crowd. Apparently, all the people who are employed there, I said 8 farmers. If you listen, you will learn. Mr. Speaker, you know my primary school teacher always used to say a good listener is a good learner. So, Mr. Speaker, this group was taken there, over 50 persons to make up the crowd. Apparently, they are employed, but they don't have much to do. Sir, and whilst the general manager and senior personnel finds it difficult to travel to Region 2 to interact with farmers, there is no difficulty with them going to Asia, sir. Traveling, I don't know for what. We are not there, we are not told. But the traveling has increased, and you can see it reflected in the budget. Although this is an agency that, if you add this agency, the $1.2 billion increase in local traveling will go up significantly. Sir, the Minister of Finance also spoke about cooperation with Malaysia. We are told that we are having cooperation with some institute. That's commendable, sir. But, sir, right here in Guyana, I read on a DPI release where the general manager spoke about yields and said that the average yield in Guyana is about 6.1 tons per hectare. Sir, in 1993, it was about 3 tons. And by 2014, it was 6 tons per hectare. So I know those figures are correct. And in some areas, the general manager said, this is not me, sir, this is according to DPI, April 10th, that in some areas we're having yields of 7.1 metric tons per hectare. But we are now entering into cooperation with Malaysia to bring in varieties that we are told are high yielding. But sir, the Malaysian average yield is 4.1 tons per hectare. And we're establishing cooperation when our yields, average yield is 6.1, and in some areas, as Cuba being one of them, is 7.1 tons. There's nothing wrong with establishing relationship. It should be promoted and encouraged. But sir, we also have to choose who we are entering into cooperation with. Malaysia would like to benefit, and we should allow them to benefit from our expertise so that they can bring their yields up from 4.1 metric tons per hectare to 7.1 that we have existed. And whilst I commend the move, sir, I think the government again display a lack of understanding of the industry and how it operates and priority itself. Sir, you know, in that release too, I saw that export to Mexico of paddy, I think from 2016 to May of 2017, the export of paddy to Mexico was somewhere in the vicinity of 174,000 tons. This is the raw material, sir. This government, in its manifesto to the people of Guyana, and in particular the farmers, promised value added. They have actually increased the export of the raw material to Mexico at lower prices.
Wow.
At lower prices. How much more backward can we get, sir? When we are talking about value added and value chain and all of that. And this budget, sir, the budget presentation, again, the words are there. Value chain, value added, and value this and that. The reality, sir, is a totally different situation. Totally different situation. Sir, you know, when the GRDP, RPA is not even recognized, although the law said it should be recognized. You want to blame the RPA for that? Comrade Speaker, you know, when the GRDP was given the mandate to develop seeds in 1995, which was hitherto at NARI, within a matter of time from 1995 to 2015, sir, the GRDP had developed 15 new varieties. 15 new varieties. So they are doing well. The technical staff there, they have improved. Training was provided. Money was being provided for that. They have a lot of people with their first degree, their second degree, and so with their PhD. And I would venture to say that on a per capita basis, sector-wise, the rice industry has more qualified people than other sectors because of investments that were made in human capital. You see, sir, back in those days, we don't talk it, we do it. Today, we are talking one thing, and we are doing something else. Sir, and that is why I said that the yields could have increased from 3 tons to 6 tons by then. Sir, the Honorable Minister spoke about increase in the livestock sector, predicting an increase in the livestock sector. Sir, how? The question is how. What measures are we going to put in place? And whilst we are talking about value added and the manifesto, sir, I just made a note here. Now today, sir, as we speak, 40,000 acres of rice in Region 2, in Region 6, sorry, is under threat because of irrigation. So whilst we are talking about drones and all of that, and the minister seemed to be a fan, he certainly was droning yesterday, and we can't even get irrigation water to the farmers who need it. Sir, livestock sector. What are the support? We want to put in abattoir. We're talking about increasing the livestock sector. Again, commendable. But how are you supporting the farmers? A few months, a few years, not so long ago, the rental for pasture land, sir, lease land, that is provided with no service, experienced a 700% increase. So farmers, livestock farmers might very well have to sell out their herds of cattle only to pay the lease. And then of what use will be the abattoir? We put in the horse, the cart before the horse, sir. We need to up our production. The abattoir is of course important, sir, but we need to give tremendous amount of support to our farmers, and we cannot support them by increasing their leases and the cost of those leases by 700%.
Honourable member, you have 5 minutes remaining.
Sir, I noticed the order paper said private members' day. Are we allowed additional time on this private member day? Sir, dairy value chain. Sir, we have to go through that. Region 5, sir. The largest concentration of cattle in our country is in Region 5. So a lot of people might want to think it's Region 9. It's not Region 9, sir. It's Region 5. But in our dairy value add chain projections and in the budget, sir, our minister is talking about a milk plant in Diamond. Diamond, sir, is on the east bank of the Marara in Region 4. Far removed from where the cows are. The cows are. So I don't know how is it, but I understand, sir, that we have not even done the study as yet, but we're putting up the milk plant. How feasible will it be when we are asked to compete with subsidized milk that are on the shelves in our supermarket? And this government is refusing to give support to our farmers in the dairy sector, sir, our livestock rearers, dairy rearers, will be asked now to compete with subsidized milk and in an environment when they are penalized. And I can tell you, sir, I buy milk from the milkman every Wednesday and every Saturday, fresh milk. And a pint of milk that is untreated, the price is equivalent to the treated milk in the shop. So if we are going to go into dairy value chain and all of that, sir, we need to support it. Energy, the cost of energy is a big deterrent. Is a big deterrent, sir. Sir, the minister is talking about census. And you know, the Auditor General spoke about the census. I think, let me go here, sir. Sir, this time is really not adequate to address these matters. Nearly 5 hours the minister talked, and then you're giving... 2 minutes. Yeah. Sir, what the minister had to say about this census. It's in the census, sir. According to the appropriations accounts, let's see here, and I'm quoting from the Auditor General.
All members, you have 2 minutes remaining.
An amount of $257 million. It was a shortfall. Monies were already allocated since 2017 for this census, sir. And now again in 2019 budget, we're being told about a census. $257 million could not be spent. Sir, agro-processing, the fisheries sector, all of these, sir, are sectors that are not getting any support, and we're expected to perform. Central government expenditure is going up, sir. And revenue associated expenditure is going through the roof. Revenue associated expenditure is not going to give you anything. It's not an investment to produce something more. It's just an expenditure. And that is where we're having more and more expenditure going. Not in investment that are supposed to bring about returns. Sir, in closing, sir, we, sir, are demanding a few things that this government should do to give essence to the label of this document. The label of this document. We, sir, are talking about, first and foremost, we should have a reduction in the tax for fuel. Reduce the tax on fuel. This will stimulate every single sector, sir. Every single sector across the board. Restore, sir, for our children's sake, the We Care $10,000 per child program, right? Sir, our pensioners, restore their light and water subsidies.
Yes.
Provide support for our terminated sugar workers. Remove the VAT on education, water, and electricity. Sir, remove the increase in rental for drainage and irrigation and land rent. Provide support to the farmers of Region 2. Sir, remove the ban on the low quality, on used tires. And I'm asking, sir, that you should also increase the age restriction on the importation of vehicles. Sir, these measures are affecting people. And these measures, sir, the people affected will fully appreciate what Honorable Minister so eloquently quoted about the value of time. Those people, sir.
Remember, your time is up.
Mr. Speaker, let me just take 1 second to say, sir, that those people, sir, recognize the value of the one-seat majority, and they will speak in 2020. Thank you very much, sir.